Thank you, Aspen, wherever you are. Well, that was a surprise.
Oh, you didn't even know it was gonna play?
No, I didn't know. That's Aspen and I share the studio, so hello,
That's
everyone.
cool.
Yeah,
How's everybody doing?
you can share too if you like. If you want to, if you get doing some streams and all that, you can use it.
Yeah, my ranting and raving.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you can. Put it on your channel.
Yeah.
I try to keep my ranting and raving offline.
Eh,
I know
I
you
don't know.
don't.
Yeah.
Sometimes
Where my best stuff comes from.
yeah, that's what everybody wants to hear from you.
Well, if I have to speak for the people, I'll speak for the people. It's fine. I know
The
what
voice
everybody's
of
feeling.
people.
I'm a man of the
Hello,
people.
everyone. Thank you for joining us. This is my first sort of live premiere recording. Usually, my buddy Aspen is leading the way in all of his experience. So please forgive us if it's a little bit sketch. I think we'll be okay. You've been on quite a few, haven't you?
Pre-recorded? No,
Well,
only with you. Well, I mean, I've been on lives, but
yeah,
this
well,
is more of
Superman.
like a structured, deal.
Yeah. Well, it can be as structured as you want it to be. What we're going to do tonight is go through Betsy Blair's testimony. And Teddy, you have a few notes, right? Hoping you're going to have some notes on this on the Fitbit for us, because I don't
Yeah.
have. I have a couple of questions actually after reading through my notes, so maybe you'll be able to get us through that. So Betsy Blair came on the stand on Tuesday, October 22nd, which was day 4 of trial. And Stacey Diener was the prosecutor on direct. Your favorite? She, sorry.
Hey, she knows how to dress.
Did you make a note on what she was wearing?
No, I wish I would have. Not that I would remember reading the notes, but I got it locked down. I got them all.
Someone said she never wore the same thing twice. Oh, I think that was the juror, actually.
She didn't. And the colors were so bright that it
Yeah.
was really easy to figure that out and remember that. Yeah.
Yeah, she looked very professional and presented very professionally as well, in my opinion. So you thought you had mentioned in our Sarah Carbaugh video that you thought you knew Betsy Blair was older and you thought Sarah Carbaugh was also. Turned out
Yeah.
she wasn't.
Yeah.
But you don't really remember Betsy on the stand for her physical appearance, right?
No, I remember her. I guess it would be hard to describe her. I mean, she looked normal. You don't really have an idea of what these people look like in real life, but she seemed to be middle-aged. It didn't look like she did anything dramatic for court. She came in her regular clothes. You could tell that she worked out, but it wasn't like she was Miss CrossFit. You know what I mean?
Well, Betsy Blair was 60 years old in 2017. So,
I was off by a little bit.
yeah, no, she was 67-ish when she testified, and I noted when she went to this witness stand that she did come in with a cane. So she
Vaguely remember that.
We didn't hear about that in the testimony, but she did have one. So Stacey Diener called her. It was around 4:10 actually in the afternoon when Betsy took the stand, and her name is Elizabeth Blair, and she goes by Betsy. Diener asked if she could call her that. And Diener asked if she could, if she lived in Delphi in 2017, and Betsy said no. And she did reply that she frequented the High Bridge often. She went there walking. We heard about her practice of walking to the high bridge 1 to 2 times a week, and she always took the same path each time, from the high bridge to the footbridge. She followed the same direction each time, and she did this for exercise and was always by herself. She come in from out of town. I forget exactly how far away she was. But anyway, she did come in and drive into Delphi specifically to walk to the trails.
Yep.
How did you take her overall demeanor on the stand?
She didn't really seem like she wanted to be there, but she didn't seem like she didn't want to be there. It was, I'd say, cut and dry. She's just telling them what she was there to tell them, and she was very middle of the road, I would say. She seemed pretty regimented in what she does. I mean,
Yeah.
if it was me and I was going out and making a couple loops around a hiking trail and I was like, oh, I've got to go to the bathroom, like I wouldn't go back afterwards.
Yeah.
So that, like,
Right. Yeah.
yeah, I wasn't really thinking about any of that stuff when I thought of her. I knew her name. I knew she was an important witness.
Mhm.
But you put a face to the name, and I think with this, because she was so disciplined, for lack of a better term,
Mhm.
I mean, it helped. It definitely helped with this investigation because each one of these witnesses had something that gave us a timestamp that allowed us to create a timeline. And with her, it's completely different from the other groups. The
Yeah.
Fitbit, her knowing, I do this every
Yeah.
day. I always walk. I always take the same
Yeah.
loops around the trail, especially coming in from out of town. It's not like she's just taking a casual stroll. Like she's going
Mhm.
there with a purpose to do her usual thing.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, and we do hear a little while later how she does leave the trail and go back again for a second time.
mhm.
So she always followed the same direction. She remembered the weather as being a little bit chilly, and she said when she walked there, it was at various times of the day. So while she was regimented in where she walked, she did go there at different times of the day. And what helped her determine the time she was there on February 13th, 2017 was because from her Fitbit, as you said. So she
Mhm.
had the steps and the distance for walking. It would track everything. So she parked at, no, she called it the niches. And
Yeah.
that was the first time we heard that. We're going to hear a little bit more about that later. But she parked at the niches parking lot across from the Mears farm. She parked in the gravel lot. And then when she was describing this next part on the stand, I specifically was very impressed because her recounting of exactly where she went and what she did, like she was just boom, boom, boom. Like she knew
Mhm.
exactly what she had done. And so she described turning left, turning around at the barricaded section. She turned left and went down to the trail junction, turned left again, went to the footbridge. She came back to the intersection. So Diener asked her how many loops she would do, and she said she would do 3 loops. But that day she did 2 loops, took a break, and then went back to do another loop.
Mhm.
So Diener asked her on the first 2 loops if she saw anybody, and she said no, she didn't see anyone. When you came back, so you left and you came back, and she says, yes, I went to the library and used the restroom, and then I came back. And so we know from being there that the library wasn't very far from the bridge. Did you have the time she arrived the
No,
first time?
I think that was when I stopped writing down exact times because I started going. rushing through the notes.
Yeah.
No, we could probably find that though.
Yeah. We have the times that she was on camera and all that, but her testimony didn't get into this specifically. So she went to the library and then come back and did another loop.
Mm-hmm.
So the second trip was when she did the third loop, and she did see someone on the high bridge. And
Yes, she did.
She said it was a man, that she had gone up to the orange rail barricade and then came back to the junction and back to the main trail. So she saw two girls. She found out later that it was Abby and Libby. They were walking along, chatting with each other quietly. And she said that they didn't really look at her when she passed them. She continued on to the footbridge, and she didn't see anybody when she did that. So later that day, did you see that Libby and Abby were missing? Diener asked her. And Blair responded that her husband was at work and he knew they were missing. And he also knew, of course, that his wife, Betsy, walked out there a lot. So she called the sheriff's office because she saw the girls she saw the girls and the man at the high bridge. She saw them on the news and realized that it was the same two girls, that she had seen Libby and Abby. And then Diener asked her if she learned the next day that the girls were deceased, and she said yes.
Can you imagine? I don't think anybody's ever talked about that. Like, she was the only person in between the two of them. That's terrifying.
Yeah.
Yikes.
Yeah. It's awful. I'm sure she's went through a terrible time with all of this.
Yeah.
So prior, Diener wanted to know, prior to phoning in, if she had seen the image released of BG from Libby's phone. And then she entered state exhibit number 210, which was the still shot of Bridge Guy. She said she recognized him as the one that she had seen on the bridge. Diener asked her if she was contacted by law enforcement, and she said yes, that she gave a statement, and that she used the Fitbit data to determine when she was on the bridge. So the first time was 2 loops, the second time was 1 loop, and then Diener asked if she could approach Blair, and Gull said yes. And she entered exhibit number 212, which was the Fitbit data for February 13th, 2017, which she published to the jury. Now, this is the part I'm hoping that you have a bit of more information here, because in my notes, I say, how is this helpful? And I have written down about the hydro line. Do you have anything about that at all?
The hydro line? No. Feel like this is the first I'm hearing of it, but I'm sure I heard about it in court. I
think I must have maybe short formed that.
Maybe she was talking about when she left. Maybe that was something on her way out. Maybe.
Well, okay. I do have some times here. Between 12 and 1 p.m., there were 5 lines. I think she's talking about the Fitbit data, like the actual data.
Yeah. Yeah, that's probably what that is. Yeah.
Have you ever
That's the
seen
only thing that would
before?
make sense. I haven't. I'm sure I have, but if I was to take a stab at what she's talking about, I mean, there's nothing else in the area that you would. I don't know if hydro lines is the correct term, but maybe like blue lines on, like it shows where her activity is. And that's how you know where she was. Like here, I was taking the break, and then this is when I started the third loop, and then here's where I stopped, and I saw him on the bridge, and then turn around. So
that sounds right, because I have 5 lines, and they were higher than the other time. She was doing the first 2 loops, and then she walked on the trail for the third loop. And then they were discussing 2 lines for the third loop. So I'm really not sure about that specific information. They talk about the trail being evenly divided, and and Blair said she wasn't 100% sure.
The trail being evenly divided.
Yeah, I think it's maybe the loops or the laps themselves. I'm not really not sure. I don't have.
Could be.
Did you see the exhibit for the Fitbit?
I didn't see the Fitbit exhibit. When they were talking about it,
You remember?
you can understand what they're talking about. She's basically showing you, I did these 2 loops, then I took a break. So she's in her car driving. You're not going to have the activity showing up on your Fitbit like you would
Right.
when you're walking, doing exercise. So you can clearly see the break between the second loop and then when she goes back for the third loop. So it gives you an accurate time of when she was there. And she went from the Mears lot to the bridge. That's not far at all.
No.
So if they have her car pulling in and then they have the Fitbit information, they can, I'd say, pretty accurately line up when she was at that bridge. And then, you have the girls coming through, so you know when that was too. So I don't know exactly what those lines looked like, but
you did 2 loops. If she was at the Mears lot, walked to the Freedom Bridge, back again.
Could be. I don't remember what her original loops were, but I think the third one might have been just from the Mears lot to the bridge. I mean, you've been from the Mears lot to the bridge before, right?
Oh, she turned around and walked. She left, right?
Right. But like when she first got there for that third loop, she parked at the Mears lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. So she went from the Mears lot to the bridge and then saw him, turned around.
Did she?
You know what I mean? Well,
Did we just cover that? Because now that I'm thinking about it, outside of, she said she did. Yeah, because I don't. Did she finish her walk? I mean, this was in the PCA.
Well, that I would assume was her finishing her walk. She probably walked the beginning, Freedom Bridge all the way through and back on her first 2 loops. And then the third one was just finishing it up. So she parked at Mears. She got out, she went up to the bridge, saw Richard Allen, and then turned around and went back to her car and drove off because it was the end of her exercise for the day. She just wanted to get that little bit in.
Because that's not very far.
It's not, but it's enough if you've already done 2 rounds.
She did call.
Plus she was 60. That's pretty good for a 60-year-old.
So she says for the third loop, you would have seen BG. Your loop was to go to the High Bridge first. Okay, there we go. So she was asked if she was able to see him, and she said not super clear. She was 50 feet away. He was on the first platform on the side of the High Bridge. He was out on that little platform. He just looked at me when I came to the barricade. It was like I felt like he was looking for someone, but he wasn't looking for me. And Diener asked him, was he a white male? And she said yes. Asked her, sorry. And then law enforcement asked her to do a sketch. Now, we heard you weren't at the 3-day hearings, right? The pretrial hearing. But we did hear, I believe it was there, from Lieutenant Holman about neither Sarah Carbaugh nor Betsy Blair wanted to do sketches. They weren't comfortable doing them, but they did them anyway. So we won't go down into the rabbit hole about the sketches, but unless you have something to say.
I have a lot to say. Not that
Take the floor then.
No, just those damn sketches caused so much issue. And if we would have known the whole time, the two people that produced those sketches and the fact that they didn't want to do them and the confusion that it caused releasing Betsy Blair's after the fact, it just, I don't know. I think without the sketches, there'd be a lot less drama in this case. I don't know. It still irks me. I mean, I get it from both sides. Like law enforcement, they're never going to say, yeah, this is the exact person, this is what the guy looks like. But you also see from what Betsy Blair had said, where she was. Like when I went to the bridge, obviously it's a lot different than it was in 2017. That orange barricade's not there. You don't know, the first platform isn't even there anymore. But you look at where she probably was to where the first platform would have been. I'm like, how the hell do you know any real detail? You know what I mean? You can tell somebody's white or black, but you can't really tell, especially if you're not paying attention too much. So both sketches are based off of loose memories. I don't know.
Wasn't the first sketch really though, or am I remembering that wrong?
I thought the first sketch was based off of the video.
Oh.
The FBI did it based off the video. What they thought he looked like, but I could be wrong on that.
Yeah. Anything else?
I don't know. It seemed like you had something.
No, I can't
come on, I want to hear it.
I can't do sketch discussion.
I feel like that's a sidebar. We should do one of those. A sketch discussion.
No.
We can do it. We can do it the whole time. It won't even be us on camera. It'll just be our paper. And we'll just random doodles and talk the bullshit of the case. I like it.
Oh, there were 7
sketches. Oh yeah. Some of them nightmare fuel.
Sketch is a sketch.
Yeah.
It's not a photo.
It's not. The funny part about it is when you look at the people that saw him on the trail and all the different descriptions that people freak out about. And you think about how many people could actually be on the trail at that exact time wearing the same clothes. I mean, let's just say there was 2 people of the same relative height and weight with the same exact clothes on, because we all know that outfit is notorious over Indiana. But
at the Longhorn.
I know, I still haven't seen that photo of all the bridge guys.
Susan was making me take pictures of the table full of BGs. Several times. She's like, look, there they are again.
Oh, I can only imagine. That's terrifying.
I mean, it was, but there wasn't anybody else out there that day dressed like that.
Right, and that's the thing. It's a very common outfit for the area.
Yeah.
But there comes a certain point where you have to stop and say, okay, these were the people that were out there. The person we're talking about admitted to being out there and admitted for whatever reason, I still don't know. Like, shut up, guys, stop talking. But gives them the exact outfit, everything.
Mm-hmm.
They all described him differently. Even the people that were standing right next to each other, they gave completely different descriptions. Oh, all in black. Oh, blue and dark blue jeans. Like, they're all over the place. They're not lying. It's just what they remember, but they saw the same person. So you can take that with Betsy Blair and Sarah Carbaugh and the 3 other girls, and I don't know why people are still hung up on that. Like,
they had one thing in common.
The hair coming out of the...
Well, they all recognized the man they saw was BG on the bridge when they released that.
But people will turn around and say, well, yeah, they see the video. They know that this is the guy that did something. So whether it's who they actually saw or not, they're going to go, yeah, that looks like it. So you know what the discussions are. That's what people say.
Yeah. Yeah.
But again, I think about it from my perspective of if I was out on a trail and I saw somebody that looked a little sketch.
Mhm.
See what I did there? Like that? Sketch.
Ooh.
Yeah, but like I don't even remember what I wore 2 days ago,
Oh,
let
I
alone with
know.
some random guy,
Mhm.
but then if you see a picture of that same person, you're like, "Oh yeah. Yeah, that's him." I get
Yeah.
it. It's nondescript clothing, but still.
You recognize it happens, and it did happen with
It's an
all
out of
of
this
those.
world concept.
What's that?
I said it's an out of this world concept for some people. I don't know.
So the last question that Diener had was she wanted to know if Betsy had seen that person on the trail before, and she said no. So now we have Baldwin come up on the cross exam. And I specifically and distinctly remember the way he approached Betsy Blair and how he greeted her, because to me, it was phony, very syrupy, sweet, trying to be like really like, eh. He did the same thing with Anna on day 2.
I'm
But
so
anyway,
glad I was not there for that.
and it struck me as same thing, phony. But here's what he said. Hi, Betsy. She said, like,
Yeah,
and you know,
I remember that now. I remember that now.
do
Okay.
you remember? Do you agree?
Yeah, just you saying it like that. Yeah, he would
Yeah,
talk to people
right?
like they had dementia and they were in a nursing home. He'd
Yeah.
go, "Hi, how are you?
She said,
I'm gonna ask you some bullshit questions now."
yeah. Like how many, God knows how many depositions she'd done.
Oh, I don't even want to
I don't
imagine.
know, but I mean, I can imagine it wasn't that fun. So she says hello. He says, the mirror's entrance. That equals the niches? You brought a new term in for us today with niches, right?
Niches.
Niches? Was it
I
niches
don't
or
know.
niches?
I don't remember. I remember hearing that and being confused for a little bit, but
Niches?
I don't.
Niches. Niche? No, it was I don't know. I spelled it with a T, so I think it was pronounced. Well, actually, no, I haven't spelled 2 ways. Well, anyway, that's what she called it, and there we had several terms. It seems to me, Dave McCain called it
Yeah, Dave McCain, I think,
Sherry
called it
Sherry
Sh-
Mears
Sherry
Lane.
Lane. Yeah, yeah. I mean,
Yeah,
it's a small town and it's an old town. People have different
and
names for things as time goes on.
And I mean, again, to point out, Baldwin had trouble remembering the Freedom Bridge from the High Bridge, so you could see how he would be quite confused by all of this with these
But
local terms on.
he had trouble between the north and the south side of the high bridge. So
Yeah,
yeah, proves the point even further.
yeah.
Yep.
So that was the Mears entrance to the trail that led to the High Bridge, and he says, "You're looking and you see that person with an unobstructed view," and she agreed. He says it was a moment you recognized him as in his 20s or his 30s with brown poofy hair. That's what I described to that person doing the sketch, she said. Now the brown poofy hair thing came up several times.
Mm-hmm.
We hear about it a little bit later, but they never specifically released that with the sketch and whatnot, right? That description.
No, I don't think they gave a description with the sketch. I mean, the younger guy
Mhm.
has poofier hair.
Oh, I
But
don't remember the
thank
video.
God for the jurors. The jurors were right on top of it with that because they said, "Is there
Yeah.
any chance you could have mistaken a hat for the poofy hair?" And she's like, "Yeah, I could have."
Yeah.
I think about it too. It's like it had to have been more than 50 feet just
It
from
was.
being there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It
And the other
was.
thing, this is very not nuanced, but where was the sun? Like, was the sun in a spot where it's gonna kind of obscure your view even more? Like the sun shining on somebody, you might not get a crystal clear look at them because it might be bright or whatever.
Yeah.
I wonder how all that played into it. On top of not knowing you're supposed to be paying attention to this person. But
Because in the video that you talked about, you said you were surprised that it was a blue sky
yeah,
at that point in time.
it didn't look really sunny. It just
Yeah.
when you see the clip of Richard Allen walking on the bridge that they've played a million times, you it looks gray and brown. You see the bridge, you see the trees, it looks very blah. But when you see the video and you can see the bridge with you know how big it is out there, it's like you're walking on the sky. And that it looked really blue. It really surprised me because I was expecting it to be gray.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
That was a good catch because I didn't. I mean, I just sometimes I feel like I barely even seen that video because saw that video because it was just so fast. Like it was just when we're used to
yeah,
analyzing things over and over and over and every single fine detail. And
and being able to do it from the comfort of your own home and not in a courtroom where you're
yeah,
watching people
yeah,
relive terrible,
yeah,
horrific. Yeah,
yeah, yeah. It was very yeah. You're right. The sensory overload was significant during those
yeah.
times. Yeah, you're right. Um, and if we think that we want to try to remember what we saw on the screen, we had the luxury of seeing it several times. You think about these witnesses trying to describe someone in passing that's just a person.
Hmm.
I mean, it's not surprising to me about the color differences and
Right.
descriptions of genes and this and that. And for the purpose of these sketches, the perspective of the 60-year-old woman versus the 16, or how old were they? Very young,
Yeah,
like
it's about 16.
14, 16 year
Yeah.
old witnesses. Like it's,
You're
you
going to
know,
view the same person as a different age depending on what
yeah,
age you are.
for
The,
sure.
the, at the end of the day, none of those descriptions really make a difference. It's just the fact that they saw the person on the
Yeah,
video.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yep. So Baldwin's asking Betsy Blair and about what she saw. She turned around and then passed the girls. And then he said, before you got to the mirror's entrance at the niches, is that correct? And she says, yes. You said he looked young. Yes, she said, he looked young. More boyish looking? She said, I don't remember. Do you remember your statement from March of 2019? She says, yes. And Baldwin says, would it help if I gave you the document? So he refers her.
I get PTSD every time I hear you. Would it help if I pulled out the transcript?
Yeah,
Oh,
that was a sore point for you, wasn't it?
it was annoying because
Yeah.
people would be like, "No, I don't remember it now, whether I said it then or not. I don't remember what I said in 2017. I'm sorry. Enough." You pull out like the Bible and lay it on top of them like it was going to help them with their recollection. It's like, dude.
So it was March 7th, 2019, page 4, line 15 specifically.
Look at you with the notes.
Yeah, I take notes. You see, I knew you'd learn something from this. Or remember, right?
Yeah.
You told police he was more boyish looking. That was line 15. Another time you told people he was youthful in his appearance. And Diener objects, and it was sustained. And then Blair answers, he didn't look like a man that had been married 25 years. That's what she said. So was he average height? That was my best guess. That he didn't. Did he have facial hair? And she says, I didn't see any. Now, my sidebar on this is that lots of jurors were taking notes during this. Mm-hmm. Okay. And so he says he wasn't wearing a hat, and she said, I didn't see one. When you left, you headed westbound on 300 North. You drove by the CPS building, and Diener objects and says it's outside the scope. And then they go back and forth, and Baldwin, she tries to ask some things here, and then Baldwin objected to that for being leading questions.
Do you remember why that was outside the scope? Because she wanted her to talk about the vehicle that was at the CPS lot, probably. But
was it her or him? Oh, maybe it was Diener.
Well, if that's what you have written down, if Diener objected, I'm just trying to figure out in that specific spot why that would be outside of scope. Because it is her account.
Yeah, it had to be Diener. I didn't write end of cross, and it picks up here. Diener and Baldwin go back and forth. Sorry, maybe that wasn't Diener on the objection.
Well,
had to be Baldwin because Baldwin wouldn't want it in, and then he objected to the leading question. So yeah, you're right.
Right, but if I was going to say if he's in the middle of cross, there's nothing to object because
no, she did the redirect.
Oh, on the redirect, okay.
Yep, sorry, my abbreviation is missing at that point. Thanks for correcting that. That's a great question because why would she wants to get it in? But then maybe it was him with the Mercury comet thing.
Well, there was a lot of that. I mean, I'm sure at one point
they didn't discuss it, did they? They must have.
They discussed it. I don't know specifically that day, but I know they discussed it when the defense brought their. I believe so. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Yes, they did because they talked about her eyesight at that point. Yeah.
All right. Give me a second. I gotta pee real quick.
Yep. Okay. I'll pause it. I'm gonna pause it.
All right.
Okay. So we had Diener wanted to know. She said, previously, when you testified, you saw him bridge guy only for a moment. When you saw the bridge guy image, did you recognize him? And she said, I immediately knew when I saw the picture that it was the same guy. Baldwin, since 2017, you have never changed your mind, have you? Betsy Blair said, no. I have consistently recognized him as the guy in the photo. So we're at 4:37 p.m. and we're going to the jury questions, which they had just excellent questions all through trial, and they didn't disappoint with Betsy Blair. They were paying attention. They were making lots of notes. Jury question number 1, what was your distance from him? About 50 feet, she says. Jury question number 2. How could you determine he was looking for someone from that distance? Which this was a great question. Just like, they're paying attention, right? I was like, whoa. Yeah.
Even not paying attention, though, like that's maybe it's because they're coming into this and hearing it for the first time and they don't have anything else impeding them, any biases or whatever. But to hear all this for the first time and then get down to the nitty gritty like that, I was really impressed because a lot of these questions were the same exact questions that I had.
Yeah.
With everything that I knew, like that's good for them.
So much for them to absorb.
Yeah.
So the juror wanted to know how she could determine that he was looking for someone from that distance. And Blair responded that when she got there, he was facing upstream on the bridge. So he was facing east. And when she got there, he turned. So that was her response to that. And the third juror question was, and this, you had brought this up earlier, could you have mistaken the hat on the man as hair? And she agreed and said she could have. So that was, that was an excellent, an excellent question. Now, this is the end, and we're at 4:42. And this is the same day that we had. So Blair was the final witness, but we had already had. Pardon?
Mullen was the final witness that day.
Yes, you're right. I knew when I said that. Yeah, you're right. Mullen, come on, real quick. Actually, was it quick? No. Oh no.
It was relatively quick. He introduced the photos, the still shots of the Hoosier Harvester camera.
5 p.m. was the end. Oh, we should continue on then. Let's finish it. He was on for 20 minutes. Final witness of the day. Thanks. So yeah, you have a good memory on that. Because he testified how many times? Like, had to be at least 3.
Yeah, a lot of them were really quick though.
Yeah.
It was for really specific, like one purpose type of testimony sprinkled throughout.
So who do we have here? I don't have who's asking. It had to be maybe must be Diener, because we're in day 4. So she asked to approach. I don't know. I don't have this. Do you have if it was Nick or?
No, I don't remember if it was.
It's Nick. He did all the law enforcement, but I do have it later here. So Nick asked to approach. He wants to have Mullen back on the stand as the final witness, the investigator for the Carroll County Prosecutor's Office. The last time you were on the stand, you said you had the opportunity to review the Hoosier Harvester video on February 13th. That's not correct. It was actually February 14th at 7 p.m. So this was a thorn in my side because whatever day he went, I think it was day 2 for the first time. Do you remember?
Yeah, it was day 2.
Okay.
It had to have been day 2, yeah.
And
you're talking about before. So that was before I was there.
Oh,
okay.
No. You saw the photos of the.
Right, but that was that same day. That was Tuesday the 22nd. Right after Betsy Blair. He finished out the day. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'll save my rant for another time then. But I was severely irritated. And actually, to this day, the misinformation is still out there about nobody having the Hoosier Harvester video until like 2022 or something.
Yeah, he said he got it that day.
Yeah. We heard about it the first time that he just said, he misspoke and said February, which I don't remember that part, but he said February 13th at 7 p.m., but it was 14th.
Big deal.
It is that part isn't a big deal, but what is a big deal is that Barb McDonald and Bob Mata both went on Court TV and were spewing all of this misinformation about the Hoosier Harvester video. Barb specifically said wasn't recovered until 2022. And
do you honestly think that would even be there still in 2022? It wouldn't even exist. The Hoosier Harvester is going to back up stuff from 2017.
But it's misinformation, and they were in court, and it irritated me to no end because there were several things stated on that. It was very early in trial. Must have been, I don't remember what day. I have to go back and look because it really bothers me because it's just the stuff that was put out about there being 3 different versions of Libby's video, and that the jury was presented with the photos that Mullen took of
there were 3 different versions of Libby's video in a sense.
How so?
Because
the original.
The first is the original. The second one was the enhanced, but they told you this was the first time they played the enhanced, and they told you that when she turns the camera and you see him on the frame, they're going to pause it and zoom in and then draw the red box around him. And then once they were done, they zoom back out and then play the video. So they did that guy once. The time that they played the enhanced version after the fact, they just let it play through. So it technically it's 3 versions, but people are going to go, oh, there's 3 different videos that she took. No, that's not what that is. It's just how they did what they did and pulled certain pieces out of it. Yeah.
Which I would remind that they did do a full listing of all of the enhancements that they did and presented as an exhibit to the jury so that they could see step by step exactly what was done by the technician. And it was Paige, I think. Wasn't it Paige that did that before before he was CSI? I think.
Yeah, but
I checked that. But anyway, I could be wrong.
I don't think it was Paige.
He was in that, I think, but I'm going to check that because I thought I read that a couple weeks ago, and I had forgotten about it myself, and I could be wrong. So he talks about the pictures of what time did you look at the video? Was it daytime, 7 p.m.? He took pictures of the video. The vehicles that were moving on 300 North. Now he did that on his phone, but those are not the images that were presented to the jury.
No.
The images were the full one each second, as my understanding, was 9 seconds of travel for the Ford Focus of Richard Allen's as it went by the Hoosier Harvester that day.
And I think that first time that Mullen presented, I don't think Richard Allen's vehicle was in that grouping of photos. I think it was just Betsy Blair going west and then going east, and then Sarah Carbaugh and Kelsey.
I've got them here. I have diagrams actually.
Yeah, I do too. My second page is like me trying to draw the frame of what it was. I couldn't see the cars that first day. So all I could see was the road, the way the road was.
I remember that. Yeah. About the road. Yeah. Yeah, it was quite prominent, right?
Yeah, it was a lot more. I think when I saw those photos for the first time, I was thinking of the image that they had of the white Elantra for the Idaho murders, that like really streaky, grainy pick. That is what I had in my mind when I was thinking of the Hoosier Harvester stuff. And it was a lot clearer than I expected it to be. So.
Yeah, I was surprised as well. Well, he was asked about the times. He said before 8 a.m. and as late as 5:30 p.m. And midnight on
FBI confirmed that the timestamps on that video were 54 minutes fast.
Yeah, right.
But when he gave you the times, he would tell you the time that is stamped on the video, and then he would tell you the actual time with the 54 minutes added in.
So they were looking for vehicles traveling west, and the FBI had a team after the incident, and they went from business to business. This is one of the tasks that they did. And actually, in Delphi, I met someone that was quite familiar with and had worked there, or his friend owned the Hoosier Harvester, and he had told me some details about that as well. And the FBI was quite heavily involved with all of that, with that gathering of evidence. with the various businesses actually for video. So they had they were presenting Exhibit 213, which is the affidavit report for the FBI retrieval of the video for Who's Your Harvester. Nick wanted to know if you noted at that time. Did you note at that time? Yes, I did from that document. What is the time change? Here's your 54 minutes. 54 minutes fast without reviewing my notes. And then as you viewed the videos, there were specific vehicles: Betsy Blair, Sarah Carbaugh, witnesses. We had Kelsey. They were observed on that video. So then we get into exhibit numbers 214 to 219. And Nick asked Mullins to describe them. So his street cam video, there was a big vehicle traveling eastbound on 300 North. Eastbound, that was Betsy Blair's big vehicle. The security video screenshot taken from the video that I took listed the actual time as 12:56 p.m. was listed. The actual time is 12:02. Exhibit 215 is Betsy Blair's vehicle at 14:09 traveling west. So it was actually 1:15. That's Betsy Blair. And I'll show you these because I'm like so proud of my little. Can you see?
Yeah.
I was doing like major. So exhibit 216 is the actual time is 1:4. Oh, we did have the times. 1:46 p.m. Betsy Blair's coming back from the library, going to the mirrors, traveling east. Exhibit 217, we've got Kelsey leaving the mirrors and on the Who's Your Harvester at 1:49 p.m. Exhibit 218 is Betsy Blair. 218 is when Betsy Blair left the mirrors and traveling west. Exhibit 219 is Sarah Carbaugh. She's traveling east at 3:56 p.m.
I was so mad they didn't show these damn photos on the TV.
Pardon?
Said I was so mad they didn't show these photos on the TV. I was so mad.
There was quite a bit of that.
Yeah.
And that was the end of the testimony, 5 p.m.
Yep.
Of day 4. So that was a recap. So we're going to do a separate video for the juvenile witnesses, of which we heard just prior to Betsy, actually. And then you don't have, because neither one of us were there when Betsy Blair got on the stand when the defense called her.
I might have been. I might have been.
I know I wasn't in court, or I know I didn't get in.
November 1st.
I just paused it. Say that again. Say that again.
This was the second day, November 1st, afternoon session. Let the bullshit begin. That's number 1 right at the top of the page, right before Brad Heath comes in.
November 1st.
Dave McCain. Oh, yeah, Sherry's Lane. Yep, okay. I swear to God, I was there. Fucking Betsy Blair.
Hang on, I have a witness list.
No, I must not have.
Oh, dear Lord. Okay, let me just check. Yeah, November 1st. Well, it was actually day 12, Thursday in the afternoon on October 31st. The defense started with Cheyenne. Teresa Liebert. And then November 4th, we had Tobe, Mullen, Dr. Dewanger, sorry. Goatee, rather. Heath, McCain, Scarrett, the fireman.
Yeah, I was there for him.
Yeah, no,
Sterile.
we didn't have. Okay, well, we'll start a separate video for the juvenile witnesses. If there's nothing else that you'd like to say about Betsy Blair's testimony.
Not about her testimony, but I guess as far as when she was there, he obviously left the bridge to follow her to make sure that she was either gone. I don't know how I want to frame this, but we know he wasn't on the bridge when the girls first started taking photos. You can't see him on the bridge, right? In the photo of Abby.
Mhm.
So he's on the first platform. Betsy turns around to leave. She sees Abby and Libby coming. Why does Richard Allen leave the bridge?
Yeah, good question.
I mean, I think I just thought of this right now. Why does he leave the bridge? If he doesn't see Abby and Libby, then it's not like he knows like all these two girls are coming onto the bridge.
Why did he leave the bridge?
I think these are my two victims. Let me go check and make sure that this broad's not, coming back. No, I think he might have went after Betsy Blair. Like she could have just as easily been a victim too. And then he saw the girls, and then he decided. Like when I walked through the mirror's entrance and I saw that bench right across the way, I was like, if you're gonna go anywhere to hide and wait for people to go out, that's where you're gonna be. So I think that's what happened. He went out to kind of scope Betsy Blair out, and then he saw the girls and he went, oh, well, they're going to the bridge. I can get them across the bridge and take them. And I also lately have been thinking the reason that they got weirded out by him might not have been because of an interaction that they had, but once he came back from the mirror's entrance and saw that they were a decent ways down on the bridge, he probably booked for the most part. Like he was huffing it down that bridge until maybe like the last half. And then he started walking a little bit slower. And they went, what the hell is this guy trying to do? You know what I mean? He was gone. He wants to make sure that he can get them while they're down at the end of the bridge before they start coming back.
Do you think that might be. Saw him, or was he hiding?
I don't. There wouldn't have been enough time because like Betsy Blair turns around, he's still on the first platform.
Mm-hmm.
Then she sees the girls coming. Like he's got to get off the platform. I mean, the first platform's a decent ways out. It doesn't look like it in photos, but that's a decent ways away. So he's still got to get off the platform, go all the way there. They absolutely passed him, I think.
Be about 100, 150 feet to get off that first platform and get tucked in on that little side trail that actually leads down to the crime scene.
Well,
on Logan's property.
Think about it like this. Even if as soon as Betsy turned around, say he got right off the platform and started walking, she saw the girls as she was making her way to the mirror's entrance. So if he's behind her, they had to have at least seen him. Maybe not passed him, but seen him. You know what I mean? And if he ducked off into that little north entrance to Ron Logan's property, they probably went, why the hell is this guy ducking into the woods? It's kind of weird.
I don't think we can definitively state because we don't really know the
we absolutely don't know
for the girl. And
I just like to speculate. It's fun.
Yeah, it's been a while. It's been a while since I've thought of that particular component of the timeline. But you're right. But you are right. He did get off the bridge.
Yeah, so it's not.
So either he followed her, or he was. We don't know.
Nope. Sketchy either way. Doesn't change the results.
Wish it would.
Oh, I don't mean the results of that day. I just mean the results of all this. So
yeah. I mean, we're never gonna know unless he, fills in the blanks. It's We're not going to know. I hope we do. I hope he continues to confess and, cleanse his soul of his evil deeds. But
yeah, it'll get chalked up to another bout of psychosis anyway, so it's not gonna.
well, if he tells details, I'd like to know where he threw his phone, where he disposed of his 2017 phone. And I'm actually of the opinion that blue Carhartt was a replacement blue Carhartt.
I could see that. I'll agree with you on that one. Yeah, I mean, if that was a jacket that he wore a lot, and all of a sudden that day was the day that he magically lost it, that would have been suspicious. So if you needed to get rid of that, you're gonna go out and buy the exact same version. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's more of a story on that. Pretty sure.
There's still a lot we do not know.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank you for joining me. Thanks to everyone if you've listened to us this long, thank you. And we're going to review, we're going to go over the testimony, the very important testimony. Well, it all has been at trial, but for Rayleigh Voorhees and Bree Wilbur, the juvenile witnesses, and they'll be in a separate release. And I think we'll do it now. If you want to, Teddy, it's up to you. But anyway, till next time, thanks for watching.